All right, let's get right into it. So a new AI model drops, right? And it's supposed to be this huge leap forward. We're talking about Gemini 3, but the community has let's say, a more colorful name for it. Nano Banana, the official marketing? Oh, it's all about frontier intelligence built for speed. But here's the kicker. What if that speed came with a massive hidden cost? What if the so-called upgrade was really just a very clever downgrade? That's what we're digging into today, the whole Nano Banana Deception. And this is really where the story kicks off. It doesn't start with some glossy press release. No. It starts with a feeling, this gut feeling from professional users, people who live and breathe this stuff. This quote you see here from a developer on Reddit, it's not just some random complaint. Think of it as the canary in the coal mine. It was a huge red flag that for the power users, something was seriously off with this upgrade. Which brings us to the big question, the mystery we're trying to solve here. Could it really be that the world's newest, shiniest AI is, well, faster and prettier, but at its core, just dumber? It sounds wild, but let's follow the breadcrumbs and see where they lead. Okay, first up, the Phantom upgrade. We're going to break down exactly why this so-called generational leap felt more like a giant step backward, especially for the folks who depended on it for heavy-duty, technical jobs.
And wow, this slide just puts it all out there, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the slick marketing talk, frontier intelligence, high-velocity ideation. Sounds amazing. But then you look at what users were actually saying, brain dead for technical work, repetitive output failure. I mean, the model just stopped following basic instructions, which was something its predecessor did perfectly fine. So what on earth happened here?
And that leads us right into the how of it all. Our next section, the cost-cutting engine. The answer, it turns out, is in this technical process called architectural distillation. And trust me, this is the key to unlocking the whole mystery.
So what is architectural distillation? Think of it like this. It's basically a way to shrink an AI model. You have this massive, brilliant, but super expensive to run teacher model. Then you create a much smaller, cheaper student model, and its only job is to copy the teacher's answers. The student gets really good at mimicking the teacher. It learns all the patterns. But, and this is a big but, it doesn't have the same deep, complex brain. It's a shortcut, a way to get results that look similar for a tiny fraction of the cost.
And when you look at the hard numbers, whoa, they're just staggering. The speed of the new Nano model, it shot up over 170%. So that high-velocity marketing promise, they delivered on that for sure. But look at the trade-off. The output limit, how much stuff it can actually generate at once, it crashed by over 72%. For coders, that's a deal-breaker. The tool became useless for what they needed it for most, writing long, complicated blocks of code. And then look at the provider's cost, a 75% drop. Now that's the real story right there.
This chart just says it all, doesn't it? That giant green bar going up, that's the speed. It's flashy, it's what you notice immediately. But that plunging red bar, that's the model's actual power, its ability to do the deep, complex work. It just fell off a cliff. It's a classic bait and switch, really, just done with some very sophisticated tech.
Okay, so we know how they did it. Now for the billion-dollar question, why? That brings us to our next piece of the puzzle, the price of speed. It's time to follow the money because the motive here wasn't about making a smarter AI. It was all about making a cheaper one. And that introduces a term you're going to want to remember, quota arbitrage.
And it all comes down to this number, 50 cents. That's the new price tag for the provider to run 1 million tokens on this new model. That's a 75% cost reduction. Now, you have to remember the scale we're talking about here. Billions of queries every single day. That 75% isn't just chump change. It translates into literally billions of dollars in savings.
And that, my friends, is quota arbitrage. It's simple, really. You keep paying your, say, $20 a month for the advanced plan, but on their end, they've quietly swapped out the powerful, expensive model you signed up for with this new, much cheaper and less capable one. They pocket the difference. Simple as that.
And this has a real tangible cost for the user. I mean, paying customers saw their daily image limits just slashed, from 100 all the way down to 18. And what's worse, because the new model was so glitchy and would get stuck in these repetitive loops, people were burning through their tiny quota just trying to get a single decent result. And get this, the ultimate irony, some people paying for the advanced tier actually had less access than people on the free plan during the switch. It was a mess.
So here's the problem for them. If the model is actually worse, how do you stop millions of users from noticing?
Well, that brings us to what I think is the most fascinating part of this whole story, a concept called aesthetic laundering. It's a seriously clever way to hide a downgrade behind a pretty face.
This term is just perfect. Aesthetic laundering. It plays on a little trick of the human brain. We see something that looks high quality and beautiful, and we automatically assume it's smart and capable. The new model was specifically trained to create these incredibly sharp, cinematic-looking images. They look more advanced than the old ones, which has this wild effect of gaslighting you. You see an error and you think, huh, it must be my phone. My prompt must be wrong. Not that the incredibly beautiful AI is actually broken.
And here's a perfect concrete example of what I'm talking about. A user gives a simple instruction: shorten the object's handle by 2 inches. The old model, Gemini 2.5 Pro, no problem. It understands the geometry, it does the thing. The new Nano model, it completely ignores the request. Instead, it just slaps a pretty cinematic filter over the entire image. It didn't do the job, but hey, it looks nicer, right? It's a clear case of prioritizing looks over actual logic.
All right, let's pull all these threads together and deliver a verdict. We're calling this the economic mirage, because what we're looking at here isn't really a failure of AI. In a way, it's a huge success. Gemini 3 is absolutely a milestone, but it's a milestone in economic optimization, not in artificial intelligence.
And if you need a smoking gun, this is it. Users started calling it the simulation bug. You see, even when the model was hooked up to the live internet, it would reject real-world facts about 2026. It would see things like a planned software release and call it fictional. And why? Because its core training data, that distilled knowledge from 2025, was baked in so deeply that it literally couldn't process new information that contradicted it. Its whole internal logic was just too brittle.
So at the end of the day, the real story of the Nano Banana boils down to this one central conflict: visual fidelity versus logical integrity. The company made a calculated bet. They bet that for the vast majority of people, a beautiful image is more important than a logically correct one. And for many casual users, maybe they were right. But for anyone doing serious professional work, that bet was a spectacular failure.
And this whole saga leaves us with a really big question, one that goes way beyond just this one model. As AI gets woven into everything and becomes this massive global utility, what are we actually paying for with our subscriptions? Are we paying for real, genuine intelligence that can reason and think logically? Or are we just paying for a faster, cheaper, and much, much more beautiful illusion?